All right, we're over here at the router table, and what we want to do is have this set up so that we cut on our shelves and our sides 7/8 of an inch in, and then we're going to flip it over and we're going to do 7/8 of an inch on the other side as well. And because the bit that we have is only 3/4 of an inch, the fence needs to be set up just a smidge behind it. And what I've done is, I thought I had it set up, so then I cut a scrap of wood, and I adjusted, and then I cut the other side of the scrap of wood, and then I adjusted, and then I cut the other side of the scrap of wood, and I thought, hey, that's pretty good, but the thing that I'm cutting is not 3/4 of an inch wide. And then finally, after one more adjustment, I got a full 5.5. I found a scrap in the trash can, found a full 5.5, and cut across, and now I agree with myself. So each time I'm getting closer to that 7/8 of an inch. And then I'm going to have one more cut on the other side of this guy, and then what I want to do is make sure that this is a 1/2 inch thick when I'm all done. So let's plug in our router, put on the safety goggles, make one more cut. Now, again, if I use my miter gauge here and I'm sliding across, I'm going to have this extra little lip there, and my dust collection is not going to work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my miter gauge, nip the tip, and cut off just the edge there, and then go back and cut off the rest of it. And that way, without having the lip, the dust can get sucked up, and that's why we have this line here. So let's test that out, do one more test. Plug in, turn on our dust collection, hold securely, keeping our fingers out of the red zone here because we don't want to lose a fingertip. We have our new cut here, and what we want to make sure is that this guy is a 1/2 inch thick when we're all done. So let's see how this goes. Ooh, yeah, baby. So go here, set that up, guy, and we're a smidge over 1/2 inch actually, which I do not object to. We're over 1/2 inch by like a 32nd of an inch. So what that's going to do for us, what that's going to allow is that gives us some leeway for our mortise cuts, just in case we make a mistake there. And then you get a file and you shave this down and you shave your mortise until it fits. So now I'm going to take my actual guys and do the same thing. Nip the tip and then go in for the full cut, and I'm going to use my miter gauge to make sure everything stays square, and I'm going to stay out of the path of this guy, stand on the other side this time, and make my 1, 2, 3, 4 cuts per board, because I have to do top and bottom and then top and bottom on this guy, and I've got 4 boards, so I've got 16 cuts to do, and I want to make sure I make all my cuts with this router table on this setup so that I'm at least consistent with myself, because that's at least step 1, is agree with yourself. Alright, I've made several cuts here on this one shelf, and first cut went well. I was very slow. There's a tiny amount of tear out here, and I've got fuzzies. And then the second cut, I went a little bit faster, and you can see I've got a little bit of tear out here because I was going too fast through the blade. So 1, go slow through the blade. What I also started doing is you need something behind your last board, because the blade here is coming out of the wood, and that's how you get tear out. As the blade pushes out of the wood, it's going to push the wood fibers out, and then sometimes it splits, and makes a mess of your cut. Let's see here. I had a test piece where that happened to, but it was just pine anyway on a test piece. I got a long strip here that just flew off. So to guard against it, even a little bit of masking tape will help with that. Now, there's no substitute for going slow, and there's also no substitute for cutting into the wood to get a nice sharp cut. But if you're stuck in a situation like we are here where there's going to be a point where the blade is coming out of the wood, putting something there to be behind the wood that is being cut and going really, really slow will help with reducing the tear out and the chances that you end up with an ugly split. But we'll see how well this goes here, and I'll go nice and slow, and we'll see how that cut goes. Oh, I have to turn on dust collection. All right, cut went much better, and if I take this tape off, we'll see how well that went really. All right, so we've got fuzzies here. We'll clean up the fuzzies with a chisel and sandpaper later, but we have no tear out there. So we'll be putting masking tape around and going extra, extra slow to guard against tear out. All right. Now that we've cut across the faces, we also are going to want to cut a little bit off of here to help with the shoulder so that when we cut out the rest of the waist, we have a place for the blade to sit so we can go straight in there, and we just have one shoulder all the way around. So in order to do that, we're going to want to move our fence so that there's no gap here, because with our boards like this, the blade's just going to suck it in, and that'll destroy the shoulder and completely ruin what we're trying to do. So let's close this guy and tighten this to... Now, we're doing this second, partly because if there's tear out, I want it on the bottom back of the boards, not on the face of the board as much as possible. And second, we have to close this thing, and now our dust collection is not going to work. So as we go through, we're going to go through the same method. Use the fence to keep it square. Use the miter gauge to keep it square. Set it 0 degrees. Go through with a little bit of gap there, and then go back and finish up the cut, going very, very slowly, because we really don't want tear out on that corner there. We've got one shoulder line that goes all the way around. Now we've got a few more of these guys to do, and then we can go over to the scroll saw for cutting out the rest of this waist.